Peace. So I'm out here today. It's 9 o'clock in the AM, and I want to make a YouTube vlog. So I will make an effort to sustain some focus in this video, but honestly, it is some random thoughts that I want to share, and hopefully, these thoughts will not get too scattered as I create this video. Okay, so yesterday I was watching a movie called Snatch. It's a movie, I think it was 2000, came out. It's a movie about a jewel heist, a diamond heist. Some guys do a robbery, get a large diamond, and then a whole bunch of guys with guns are chasing each other throughout the movie to get the diamond. That type of movie. So, anyways, I was watching the movie, and there was an interesting scene in the movie. The guy dropped a nice line. So they're in the car, these two guys, right? And the one guy is drinking like some chocolate milk. And his friend who's driving the car says, you shouldn't be drinking that anyways. It's not in sync with evolution. And so this I found interesting as far as an explanation for why one should not drink the milk that comes from cows. It's not in sync with evolution. So this caused me to think of several things, and ultimately I began to think about this clash of the isms, because here you have this man talking about don't drink milk, and that's part of a certain ism known as veganism. And on that spectrum you have a variety of other isms like frugivorism, omnivoreism, and so on and so forth. And what the guy also said was that is out of sync with evolution. And wouldn't you know it, evolution is another ism. Evolutionism versus creationism. And so that's kind of where I came to with my thought process, is this constant clash of the isms. And what I began to realize is my personal preference is to not allow myself to become boxed in or stagnant within any particular ism. So part of that I have to realize is, you know, this age-old debate between creationism and evolutionism. I don't really know. Honestly, if I was to pick a particular ism right now that resonates the most, I would say it's the realization that all of these isms are essentially synchronistic and part of one universal eternal truth. And I have a clever way to explain this. Okay? And what I'll do is use this as an example. This is a bar of soap, and I want to use this as an example to explain how we can begin to understand and realize reality from the perspective of the universal, eternal, 360 degrees of infinite knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Okay? So, as an example, let's say this bar of soap for this video is going to be symbolic of the omnipresent, all knowing, all expansive, infinite, eternal truth that is universal for all creation. All right? Now, if I was to look at this bar of soap, I've got my own personal perspective. So I will begin to describe this from this perspective or this viewpoint. However, someone on this side is going to have another perspective or viewpoint, and that may or may not clash with my viewpoint. We may or may not see the same thing, although we are looking at the same thing. Because of where we're looking from, we may see two different things. And here's where it gets interesting, because so often us as human beings, we love to simplify these things and say, well, I'm right and you're wrong. But guess what? There could be a person over there that sees it from this angle. And then you can also see it from this angle. And you know what you have? 360 degrees of angles and perspectives. And if I tilt my head over here, I can see it from another angle. And that's essentially another degree. And you have 360 degrees of perspectives. And you know what? Guess what? If you were to take one of those degrees and view it at a microscopic level, you can now cut that degree in half, and it becomes 2 more degrees. So this is what makes the 360 degrees infinite and eternal. So I feel like that is a nice way to explain how I am currently feeling about the clash of the Islams. So back to this particular line from the movie when the man said, you know, you shouldn't be drinking that stuff. It's out of sync with evolution. Well, that may lead one to think, well, what is evolution anyways? So back to this example, what we have here is this bar of soap, and let's say there's this 360 degrees that's revolving around this bar of soap. Any particular angle that you may see this from is an ism. For example, let's say it's an ism. And let's say right here, this is the ism of drinking milk. Now let's say evolution is this 360 degree spiral. Not too far-fetched to imagine that, right? Here is the ism of the milk drinker. And let's say for all intents and purposes, along this 360 degree, let's say for example, each degree is a day of the year. Not too far-fetched. We are moving through time on a 360 degrees. And today we are drinking milk. And maybe tomorrow we will continue to drink milk. What ends up happening, or how to look at this, how I'm kind of looking at this right now, is at some point within the history of the planet and the human beings living on the planet, this was probably a necessary ism for human beings. There was probably a time when drinking milk was a great thing to do. But you know what happens? The spiral keeps moving. And now it's quite possible that drinking milk is no longer in sync with this spiral. And there are people who are stuck and stagnant in that particular ism or way of life. So I say all that to say what I've discovered in my life, in my experience of life, my preference is to not limit myself to any particular ism. And my preference is to find within myself some atonement and alignment with this spiral. And through an alignment with this spiral, I use the word spiral, this is what I found to be the best way as a human being to reach the alignment and atonement with the all-knowing, omnipresent, universal truth of creation. So I will conclude this video with that, and I'll be back with a part 2. Stay tuned. Peace.